If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
In the market for new or used guns, look no further than Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun. Whether you want to buy, sell, or trade, we got you covered. While you're here, check out our large selection of jewelry. We offer gold, silver, diamond, and beautiful estate jewelry. Looking for electronics? We have almost anything you can think of. We always carry new and used guns, so come here first and shop with a local business you can trust. Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun, serving you for over 25 years. 443-1668, 2552 Sunset Avenue, Rocky Mount.
Hello folks, this is Lindell with the K-Files. I have with me Lieutenant Tom Seighman with the Rocky Mount Police Department.
Good morning,
Thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you.
As promised, we're going to go over the 4 cases that Lieutenant Seighman has presented to us beginning back in July. Before we get started though, I wanted to, the Tarboro Police Department has asked us to run a little bit about a case that they're working on. They're going to be here in January to present more information, but they just wanted me to get this out to people. John Reek was a Pizza Hut manager that was killed in a robbery back in 1987. We've got a sketch of suspect, okay, but what they want people to know is that this sketch is actually the lookout and not the suspect that they believe involved. They say is a dark-skinned Hispanic. Brittany, yeah, you got the sketch of the suspect? There we go. He is this was the lookout outside the Pizza Hut when the man was murdered.
Okay.
The suspect that they say did the murder and they believe is a dark-skinned Hispanic. I don't have a photo of John Reek laying around just yet, but I do got his death certificate right here. It says he was stabbed 30 times. There we go. Oh, that's kind of hard to read, but it says right on there he was stabbed 30 times during this robbery. So, folks, when you get it, if you have any information about this, if you were around Tarboro at that time, please give the hotline a call. And like I said, Tarboro will be here in January to talk about it. So, okay. Had to get that out of the way, Lieutenant. Appreciate you being here. We're going to talk about 4 cases that you have covered since we've been doing this.
Right.
And the first one is Keenan Mercer was killed in 2017. What can you tell us about him?
Keenan was 21 years old at the time of his death, as we talked before. He had spent the morning cutting grass. He was about to start a new job that day, and was trying to raise some money so he could purchase some pants, according to his mother, so that he could look nice for his new job. And he left home, went riding to the gas station, picked up some gasoline.
On his bicycle here. We wanted.
I think we have a photo of the bicycle.
Yep.
At the crime scene.
There you go.
He left the gas station with a small amount of gasoline in the can, turned onto Westwood, then turned onto Walnut Street. And as he approached the intersection of South Pine Street, was confronted. There was an argument heard by a witness. A unknown black male came between the yards of an address on Walnut Street.
And this is the house on Walnut Street, right?
I believe we have a photo of the house, yes.
Yes. We will get to the photo.
Okay. During the argument, there were shots fired, and the assailant fled. And we have worked leads on that. We did talk about his previous gang ties, that he did have some links with some bad past, but he had changed that and was trying to move on. And we're asking for anybody that has any information on this particular crime to come forward with information.
So he was riding the bicycle when he was shot.
As best we can tell, he was riding the bicycle. Getting the confrontation with the gentleman, he probably stopped at that point. So it wasn't like he was riding by. He probably did stop to have confrontation with the gentleman.
Okay.
With the suspect.
All right, folks. If we're gonna show y'all's text to tip information at the end of each segment, so people can get that information. There it is. I got to put my eyeballs on. 274-637, right? They can text that number. They can provide the information, whatever it is, and y'all can act on that.
You type in 274-637 to the recipient, then you type RMPOL, a space, and then your tip.
Right.
And it forwards it directly to our emails.
And it's anonymous.
It is completely anonymous. We talked about that before. Text to tip houses the information in Canada, so even a subpoena from the United States won't get the data.
Wow,
so
nice.
it is completely anonymous, and we can hold two-way conversations if the person wishes to reply to our reply to their.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't
So we
know
can
that.
ask follow-up questions without gaining any identity of the person who we're talking with.
That's fantastic. All right, so before we get into the next one, you've been on here a few times, so I just wanted people to kind of get you know you a little bit.
Okay.
I just learned this morning you're from Texas. I didn't know that.
Born in the great country of Texas.
Right. Yeah, my wife's actually down from that area where you're from. She was born in Texas, and then she was raised in Louisiana.
Okay.
And then 25 years ago, she made a huge commitment to me, and here we are. So you've been in law enforcement and with Rocky Mountain for 25 years, is that right?
Yeah, the end of this year will be end of 26.
Wow, 26 years. And from what I understand, 26 of those years have been spent on, 13 of those years have been spent on patrol.
Correct.
And the rest of the time you've been in criminal investigations.
Half of my career has been in CID.
So you've probably had your hand in quite a few major investigations here in Rocky
I have
Mountain.
worked on quite a few. Seen more than most people should.
Something that you didn't know I was going to ask you, because I like doing this. The chamber, when you got promoted to lieutenant a few years ago, the chamber ran a little spot on you.
Okay.
And they said that you said that one of the most important things you can do is teaching young law enforcement officers.
Trying to make sure that they have all the tools necessary to do their job as efficiently and effectively as they can, yeah.
And that, so you said that going into being a lieutenant, and you've been a lieutenant now for 3 years, is that right? So, is that still, is that still applicable? Is that still?
Yeah, trying to coach and help make the detectives and the officers better at their job so that we can be more effective as a department, as an agency.
Gotcha. Okay, fantastic. All right, folks, we're without Sandra here. I should have mentioned that at the top of the show, but I have flying by the seat of my pants here without Sandra. She's out today, and she normally keeps me on track when it comes to the time and all that stuff, because she's the TV personality.
Right.
I'm just the good looks of the show. Ooh. So, all right. So, we're doing this so we can we want to make sure and give enough time to each one of the segments. So, folks, just to let y'all know, we're going to be talking about, later in the show, we're going to be talking about Jeff Cobb, who was killed in 2014. We're going to be talking about Sammy. How do you pronounce his last name? Sufan? Is that close enough?
I believe Sufan is.
Yeah, Sufan. Okay. Yeah, he was killed in 2011. We're going to talk about him. And then Cheryl Watson was killed back in 1991. And we're going to talk about her. So again, just to go over it with folks, Brittany, can you put the Keenan Mercer's picture back up there? I know I promised I was going to keep the picture straight. Now I'm juggling things. But I want okay. So there's Keenan Mercer. He was killed in 2017. And folks can, if you know about that, if you know someone who knows about it, we do offer rewards for information. It is Christmas time. Pick up some nice shopping money, nice Christmas money. And if you know anything about that, there's the hotline at the bottom, and we're going to be providing that text-to-tip information throughout the show just to make sure that people can do that. And so, like I said, I don't want to go on to Mr. Cobb until we take a break. So we're kind of at that point where me and Sandra would banter back and forth about things.
Well, Keenan was killed at 9:42 in the morning. This is not a 2 o'clock in the morning crime.
Oh,
this
wow.
was a 9:42 in the morning crime. So somebody was up, somebody was out, somebody was walking the neighborhood, somebody was driving through. We're hopes that there's somebody that had some information
Right.
on this case. It wasn't a 2 o'clock in the morning whodunit where everybody was home asleep when this happened. This was, late in the morning, and hopefully somebody has some information for us and can call
Right.
us or contact us.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. All right, so next year, you've committed to the third Thursday of every month. You've been very,
Correct.
very good about that. We've done that. Thank God, she's finally opened the door, folks. I was floundering here. The door between the control room and the studio lets me know that I have a minute, and I have been saved. To me, it's the life raft that they throw out to the drowning man. So we moving into next year. The third Thursday of every month. If y'all continue to do that for us, we're going to have a lot to look forward to and a lot to talk about in the coming years, however long this lasts. So we will be back after these commercials. And we're going to kick it off. We're going to talk about Jeff Cobb and Sammy Soufan.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
In the market for new or used guns, look no further than Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun. Whether you want to buy, sell, or trade, we got you covered. While you're here, check out our large selection of jewelry. We offer gold, silver, diamond, and beautiful estate jewelry. Looking for electronics? We have almost anything you can think of. We always carry new and used guns, so come here first and shop with a local business you can trust. Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun, serving you for over 25 years. 443-1668, 2552 Sunset Avenue, Rocky Mount.
Welcome back, folks. I am Lindell. This is Lieutenant Tom Seighman with the Rocky Mount Police Department. Sandra is not here. Thank you very much, Sandra, for leaving this all to me. I am struggling with time frames and other TV things, but we are going to talk about Jeff Cobb. It's a case that folks might not know Jeff Cobb, but they have shopped at Cobb Corner for sure. And his family did that. His family was a lot into real estate and all that. Jeff was into real estate. So he was killed in 2017. Can you, no, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. He was killed in 2014.
Right.
So can you tell us a little bit about Mr. Cobb?
Mr. Cobb was, he was somewhat of a ladies' man. I think we talked about that on the last show, the best
Yes,
way to
sir.
describe. He liked the ladies. He lived over in the area of Jeffries Court, and he had tenants from the apartment complex that would come to the house and pay the rent. Mm-hmm. And they would frequently come to the office area of his home. And I think we showed some pictures of the office area. There we go.
There we go.
Of the office area of his home, where he would take, not clients, I guess that's the wrong word, but tenants that would come and pay their rent. They would come there. And he was actually found in that room, deceased at the time, back in November of 2014. And we tracked his timeline. He was last seen on the 7th. He had ties to a local club. He was also a member of the Elks Lodge and was there regularly at the Elks Lodge. And we talked about him being a former county commissioner. I didn't know that, but I learned that when I talked to his brother.
Served on the school board as well.
Yeah, so he was a prominent figure in the community, and again found deceased that morning, and we don't really have a motive on it. We were kind of struggling whether it was a robbery, whether it was something personal, revenge, domestic related. We just don't know, and we're hoping that someone would come forward with some information.
Well, I got this autopsy photo that I threw in with all the photos that you gave us. Shows the guy was stabbed 60 times, right? So I mean,
Was it that many?
Yeah, it was 30 in the front and 30 in the back.
Wow.
So yeah, he got stabbed a lot, and usually that, I mean, I'm playing junior detective here, but I mean, usually that implies some sort of
Crime of passion.
right.
Potential.
So just throwing that out there, folks. We talked a lot about Jeff Cobb over the last several months because I wrote about it for the. I wrote about Mr. Cobb's case for the Telegram a few years ago, and the new chief, Chief Robinson, brought me in, set me down with detectives, and let me talk to them firsthand. Got a lot of information for the newspaper articles that I wrote,
Right.
and then I used some of that information when we started this show to do that, and then you came in and you talked about Mr. Cobb again and provided those photos that we just saw. And I mean, every murder victim is a murder victim.
Correct.
They're all the same. They're all, whoever it is. But I mean, Mr. Cobb, with all that he did, like we said, county commissioner, school board, he did a lot of other stuff. Gave a lot back to the community.
Right.
And it's just a shame that it's been almost. I guess it's been 6 years. Yeah. And so hopefully we can. Somebody will call in on that number to get some information. We're going to put the text to tip stuff up in a minute after we talk about Sammy. But these cases like that, I talked to Mr. Cobb's brother as well, and it's like that is just a shock to them, I mean, this is a guy that we said he was a ladies' man, but he was also a church man. He was a family man, very involved in his extended family. He was, I think, Fred, the weatherman, goes to the same church and said that they really got suspicious when he missed church that Sunday because he never misses church. So, folks, call in and or use the text to tip and let's get something done on that. Somebody, I mean, people know. I mean, obviously, I think just about in every unsolved murder, somebody knows something. I guess there's those ones that are done in a vacuum where only the guilty party knows.
You do have some that only the murderer knows what happened,
but over time, people talk.
Yeah.
So the third case that you covered this year was a case that you actually knew the victim, right?
Yeah, I had met Sammy when I first started working on night shift.
He was killed in 2011. So what can you tell us about Sammy?
Sammy ran Sammy's Takeout on Old Wilson Road, right there at Old Wilson and Cokie, for many years. Like I said, when I started in January of '95, he was in operation at that point, and I met him working night shift. I was on night shift when I first started, and stopped in there to get a drink and chit chat and pass the night because he was open until the late hours of the morning. As witnessed by this crime took place at we found out about it at 12:48 in the morning. So it was sometime in the midnight, after midnight area when this crime occurred, and he was found deceased in the doorway of his store. We think robbery might be a motive on that, and we did receive some calls, and we followed up on some tips, but we just haven't made any progress on it. And again, we're hoping that the public has some information. He was a staple in the community. He had been around for many, many years, running the store since 1987.
Brittany, Do you got, can you show us that takeout, Sammy's picture in the takeout restaurant? He was that the name of the restaurant, Sammy's Takeout?
Sammy's.
There's Sammy there, and here's a photo of the restaurant the night of the crime, I assume.
Yeah, Sandra actually educated us on that one. The original owner was Sammy. And then when
That's right.
when Mr. Soufan took over, he just kept the Sammy nomiker, but he wasn't really Sammy.
Right.
Sammy's Takeout.
And that was, I remember you when you were talking about this before, you said you always like to take pictures of street signs like that.
Because the people know where it's at.
Right.
If we talk about it, it's one thing, but when you can see that intersection sign, that gives people a firm location on where the crime took place. In their mind.
Absolutely. And folks, here's that text tip again. Write that down or
Store it in your phone.
Yeah, exactly. Take a screenshot of it, put it in your phone, whatever. That is a way that you can talk to law enforcement. And I just found out today that they can actually ask you questions back and it still remain anonymous.
Correct.
So that's a great tool, like that. The Crime Stoppers, 20 County Crime Stoppers, the text to tip. Of course, we've got our hotline number there for Team Cold Case. These are ways that folks can tell law enforcement what they know without revealing who they are, because there's always a concern that some folks don't want to be known who they are. Some folks might be too close to the crime to...
It's a safety concern.
Right, exactly. So
If the retaliation from the suspect or the suspects.
right, and you said like I said when we were, you used to stop there. Is that right for coffee or whatnot on patrol late nights?
Drinks and a snack.
Was he open all the time? I mean, like
He was open until 1 or 2 in the morning.
Okay.
Routinely, depending on the day of the week.
yeah. So he was. I mean, a lot of folks. Now I didn't get here until 2014. I was elsewhere, but I mean, I was still hearing about that when people found out what that I actually write about unsolved murders and all that. This was one I got a lot. I mean, people wanted to. A lot of people knew him.
Correct.
And a lot of people appreciated what he did there. I don't know I guess I probably should have found out. I mean, is there anything open there now? Do you know?
I don't think a store is open there anymore.
Yeah. Okay. That's sad. That's an injury to the community right there as well. The loss of not only him, but what he did. Because I mean, people really did appreciate him being there in that community. So again, this is a review show, so I'm reviewing. Keenan Mercer was killed in 2017. Mr. Cobb was killed in 2014. And then we just talked about Mr. Soufan was killed in 2011. And folks, if you've been holding out, now's the time. And I think something else to be said is that no information is too small, right? I think maybe sometimes folks have something that they know, but they think, well, they already know that.
Right, and that can be one small piece of information that links 2 or 3 pieces together and makes a whole picture.
You hear all the time about folks who don't call 911 because they think surely somebody else called. So, so I mean, this is that case, folks. If you know anything about any one of these, call the hotline, do the text to tip. I mean, Crime Stoppers too. I mean, whatever. We're all working together trying to get the same. We're trying to get the same thing done. So don't hold on to that information anymore. And Team Cold Case, we're new. We started in July. We've already paid out on 1 homicide. We've got the money. I mean, business leaders got together and donated a lot of money. So, we're offering rewards up to $15,000. That's pretty high. If you know something, do the right thing and make some money at it. Our chairman, General Gordon Bray, he always talks about the rule of law and how law enforcement, law enforcement can't do their job without the public.
Correct.
So I mean, it takes the public interaction, it takes the public's help, it takes respect for the rule of law to get things done. So call those numbers.
You talked about the anonymity of the tipsters with text to tip, and the people who have the information sometimes are really close to the the suspect, and that's the people we need the information from.
Right.
Suspect talks, brags, mentions it to someone, that's the information that we need. That's where the anonymity comes in, being able to make an anonymous tip that we have no way to prove
Sure, and
who it was.
Absolutely, and you know, something I found, I've been doing this about 20 years, and something I found is that, you know, when a murder first happens, you got to do all that you can. Law enforcement has to do all they can right then, but then over time is your enemy in the beginning. Let me put it that
Correct.
way. But over time, it can become your friend because people, like you said, people talk. People get divorced, and their wife or husband knew, you know, and they weren't going to say nothing then, but they might be a little bit more willing to get, you know,
If the person gets locked up for another
$15,000.
crime.
Yeah, I mean, there's all these circumstances. Business partners, I've seen several times where people have a falling out over money, you know, and everything. So hopefully, some of these, you know, we're going to talk about one in the next segment that's really old. I mean, these have all been in the last, you know, few years, in the last 10 years at least. But we're going to get into one that was in 91. I was still in high school. Believe it or not. I don't want to make you feel old or anything, but I'm just saying, in 91.
I thought you were older than me.
No,
I graduated
everybody thinks. Oh man, everybody thinks I'm a lot older. I don't. It's the mileage. It's not the years.
It's true.
But no. You know, in 91, I was still in high school. I went in the Navy in 92. And a lot of times when I write about these cases, I'm like, you know, that I've written about some from the 70s, from the 60s, you know, it's so long ago.
Right.
But you do hear, I was involved in one case that from 1972, a year before I was born, that was solved in 2010. So, I mean, you know what I mean? It does happen. And, when I get involved in these cases, I mean, like when I write about these cases, it's once it gets to the point that I'm writing about them or doing the show about these things, I mean, they're the ones that have the least chance of getting solved. I mean, it's been 10 years, you know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
so we don't expect a lot of success here, but every little bit is important. You know, like every
One solved case is a success.
Absolutely.
We
I
can
mean,
solve one case, that could lead to a second case and a third case. So.
sure enough, and that's what we need, folks. And it doesn't happen without people calling in. It doesn't happen without people providing that information. So we are going to talk about Cheryl Watson in 1991. I interviewed her mother. This is just kind of a non sequitur. I interviewed her mother a few years ago, and the devastation that her mother displayed was just unbearable. Yeah, I mean, she's a quiet woman, you know, works hard. I mean, like even at her age, she was where I had to wait for her to get off work,
right.
And you know, I mean, she's working hard, and just to have to sit with that all these years. I have 5 children, one in Chicago, one in Japan, one that's about to move to Wilson, and 2 in high school. And I mean, it's you think about not knowing where your kid is all this time. That is rough. And there's family. I mean, each one of these people had family. Everybody might not be a father or a mother, but everybody's a son or a daughter.
Or a brother or a sister.
Yeah,
or a
exactly.
cousin.
So
It takes a toll on the family.
So, again, folks, we are reviewing cases that Lieutenant Seighman presented to us throughout the year. Once we got rolling, we did it every month except for the month of October where I was indisposed. Mm-hmm. We do appreciate the police department playing along. I have been pleasantly surprised by the participation level is out of this world. You know, I mean, all law enforcement, Edgecombe County, Nash County, and y'all, we're trying really hard to get Wilson County and Wilson Police Department involved. I think that's going to happen.
Okay.
You know, but Rocky Mountain, I mean, y'all have been you've been the cornerstone that I can, because I know you're going to be here the third Thursday of every month. I've been able to space out and plan out. Folks, there's a lot of planning that goes into this hour show that we do every week. There's a lot that I have to do to look so unprepared on TV. There's a lot of preparation that goes into looking unprepared. So we're going to take our last commercial break for a minute, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Cheryl Watson. Thank you, folks.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
In the market for new or used guns, look no further than Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun. Whether you want to buy, sell, or trade, we got you covered. While you're here, check out our large selection of jewelry. We offer gold, silver, diamond, and beautiful estate jewelry. Looking for electronics? We have almost anything you can think of. We always carry new and used guns, so come here first and shop with a local business you can trust. Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun, serving you for over 25 years. 443-1668, 2552 Sunset Avenue, Rocky Mount.
Welcome back, folks. I'm Lindell. This is Lieutenant Tom Seighman with the Rocky Mount Police Department, reviewing cases from the last several months that he's presented to us. I've learned two things today. One, that I appreciate Sandra's experience on television and miss her very much. Sandra, if you're watching, don't do this again. Number two, the magic of the show, as Fred just told me, is that we ramble. So I've lived up to that today. This case that we're going to talk about, Cheryl Watson, is it really touches me. Like I said, I talked to her mother. I sat down in her living room, talked to her. But it's just such a, it's just such a sad case, you know. I mean, Cheryl had a lot of potential. She was had a good job. She was going to school or intermittently. I mean, she was gonna go somewhere. And then in 1991, in Pineview Cemetery, all that came to an end.
Yeah, tragic end.
What tell us about her, the whole thing.
She worked at Tex 5 Blends on the Edgecombe side there, and on the morning of April 10th, 1991, a worker with the city discovered a body in the cemetery and called the police, and the investigation began from there. Partially clothed, and she had a lot of trauma. She had been severely beaten about the head and the face, and again, we followed up on leads. The one thing that leaves some potential for a witness was the baseball game that was going on the evening before, and it's potential that this crime took place around that same time. And so we were asking anybody that has any ties to that baseball game or practice, whatever it was back in '91, to come forward and give us any information that they may have thought that we didn't need or that was not important. As
Right,
we talked about.
right. Oh yeah, I think that's a lot of times folks just think that what they have to say isn't useful, so they don't call, they don't provide information. Brittany, can you put the map up there of the cemetery? I gotta put my eyeballs on. It's kind of upside down, but if you see, there's a square right in the middle of the map, and that is where the old office is.
Okay.
And right diagonally from that is lot 30, where she was found. So,
Okay.
If people are familiar with Pineview Cemetery, I just want to kind of give them an idea of where that was at. And her car, y'all found her car, right?
Her car was in the parking lot there. Yeah.
And we got a picture of the car. Yep. That was in the cemetery. Is that shared with the parking lot? Or was it the cemetery parking lot?
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. It was there, though. I mean,
Correct.
it was in the area.
It's adjacent to the
Right.
cemetery. So
Okay.
They touch. So.
And what time, did you say what time?
She was found at 7 o'clock in the morning.
So it happened the night before at some point?
During the night, yeah.
Okay, that is a tragedy. She, I guess, like you said, she was beat really bad. That apparently there was a headstone or a tombstone that was involved in that as well. Folks, if you know something at this point about Cheryl Watson, or Mr. Seighman, or Mr. Cobb, or Mr. Mercer, you need to tell law enforcement. I mean, I'm amazed. You hear. I just seen a show the other day where the woman had given a deathbed confession. She's 80-something years old, and she's wanting to get something off her chest that happened 40 years ago.
Wow.
And it's like, thanks a lot, lady. I mean, I'm sure that law enforcement could have used that information 40 years ago. So, I mean,
Did that implicate herself in a crime?
No, it was her husband.
Wow.
So what, you know what I mean? But
Right.
so she just wanted to get right with the man before she, kicked off. But I feel like that's not getting right with anybody. If you wait 40 years,
Yeah.
that could have helped. We established the reward
Right.
up to $15,000. Crime Stoppers has its own reward. The governor puts out rewards a lot of times. Families put out rewards.
Correct.
There's always rewards. And I mean, that's great, but there's also just the common decency part of it. I mean, I just would think that if somebody knew something, especially about a murder, I mean, crime too, but I'm just saying, especially a murder, a loss of life where someone's just, it's just the right thing to do, to
It's
call
our
and
civic
provide.
duty to
Yeah.
come forward and help your neighbors.
Absolutely.
You would want someone who had information about a crime victim in your family to come forward with that information so that you could have closure.
That's a
'Cause
good
that's what it's
point.
about,
Right, yeah, absolutely.
giving the family closure.
And they do need that in each one of these cases. So I have not talked to anyone in Mr. Mercer's family, but I have talked to at least a close friend or a family member in the other three cases, and they need. It's really hard. I've had some. There was a couple homicides in my family that I don't talk about that much, but it is an important part. I mean, adjudication is an important part of the process. You need some sort of feeling that there's justice in the world, and folks who are unwilling to provide that for someone else is just I mean, we should be better than that. So I don't want to preach too much, but I mean, we should be better people than that. So again, folks, we talked today about Keenan Mercer from 2017. Jeff Cobb was killed in 2014. Miss Seighman was killed in 2011, and Cheryl Watson was killed back in 1991. These are the cases that you presented to us in the last few months right on the show. Moving forward, we're in the coming year. We're if you're here every third Thursday, we'll have 10 to 12. I mean, because there's something going to come up, but there's always something going to come up. We're going to have more cases, and my goal is to get all of these cases on the air eventually. I mean, we have cases that you think that there's more solvable than others just because of the circumstances,
right?
But I mean, we work on every one of them, and I know that y'all do. Your boss, Captain Staten, right? I had long conversations with him about it, and the city is dedicated to this, and I'm hoping that we see something. A lot of times people say, they'll misinterpret that I'm trying to do law enforcement's job for them, which I'm not. I'm very keenly aware of what we do here as a show, what I do with the newspapers, and what y'all do.
Right.
And all that we do is facilitate information. We try to get we can try to entice, influence, or persuade, encourage, any which way we can. We try to get people to give y'all a call. And I mean, it does work. I was involved with Crime Stoppers down in the Jacksonville area for 5 years. In those 5 years, they had 19 homicides in that area. All 19 homicides had a Crime Stoppers tip attached to it. Now, that's not to say that it was the deciding factor,
right?
You know, because I think we talked about that off the air. I can't remember if it was on the air now. But it was, you know, some tips corroborate information you already have.
Right.
Some tips are the whole show. You know, I mean, that tip is what y'all needed. Some tips are worthless. I mean, you just add them, it is what it is. Sometimes you get the same tip from 10 different people. Sometimes you get a tip that was wrong, but it all, so for 19 homicides, all 19 of them had some sort of Crime Stoppers tip attached. And that's what we're working toward here, is to try to get some sort of information to go into your file, so that maybe maybe it doesn't produce nothing immediately, but eventually, as it all adds up,
right,
maybe something. I mean, every little bit helps, and I think that's what people need to do. So we are now back to the rambling stage. I can't imagine how, the job that you do, I've seen a lot, but I'm usually, yesterday, for instance, I was riding through Rocky Mountain, I seen about 5 cop cars in front of a house, and I said, maybe that's something I need to stop and take a picture of. It was apparently a drug raid, and it was the sheriff's department and the police department were involved, just by seeing the people. And, y'all enter into danger every day, just by carrying the badge and the gun, just by being there, you're in danger all the time. But then there's also that element of what you see, how it affects you afterward, I've seen a lot of bad things, but I get to the crime scenes after everybody. Sometimes I've gotten there first. Those are the worst ones, but I have a lot of respect for what y'all do on a daily basis, and people, it gets cliched, and they throw around like hero and everything. We had the deputy that just died in the car wreck and all, and chasing the guy on the motorcycle who, we need to be putting out some information on that guy, because he they never caught him. He was going so fast, 125 miles an hour. He's gone. Yeah. He's probably in Norfolk, Virginia right now, or wherever. But it takes a special kind of person to do the job that you do, and to have done it for 25 years. Some people. I've got a family member who got into law enforcement, and they did it for 4 or 5 years. I think they were pretty decent at it, but they're getting out. And it's
a lot of people do.
Yeah, and it's the folks that are in there as long as you've been in there. I think y'all deserve some sort of a raise. Maybe give you a raise, folks. Can we get the lieutenant a raise?
There's light at the end of the tunnel. Retirement is fast approaching.
That light at the end of the tunnel might be a freight train.
Well, have a chance.
Folks, I do appreciate you tuning in today for the rambling review of Rocky Mount's murders. We will see you back in January, I hope.
Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. Lieutenant Seighman with the Rocky Mount PD. We really appreciate you being here. You've been here for the whole hour. This was an experience for me, and we will hopefully. All of this results in something. Anything results in anything. Yeah, absolutely. We need a tip, folks. So we will not be back next week. I'm sure they'll run a rerun or something. It's Christmas Eve. Sandra's decided she's not working. That's 2 weeks in a row. Sandra. Well, I was out the entire month of October. I shouldn't complain. But on the 31st, we're going to review some of the stuff, all the stuff that we've done.
Okay.
Senator will be here. Hopefully I won't ramble as much. And we will see y'all next time, folks. Thank you.
If you recently lost your job and your health coverage due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and you think you may be eligible for Medicare, you probably have more questions than answers right now. Statewide Insurers Group, All Things Medicare, can help you with that. We can provide the guidance and the answers that you need to get the benefits you may be eligible for. Don't let this time of uncertainty jeopardize your eligibility for your Medicare benefits. Remember, relationships matter. Call Statewide Insurers Group today for the answers that you need now. 316-8166.
In the market for new or used guns, look no further than Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun. Whether you want to buy, sell, or trade, we got you covered. While you're here, check out our large selection of jewelry. We offer gold, silver, diamond, and beautiful estate jewelry. Looking for electronics? We have almost anything you can think of. We always carry new and used guns, so come here first and shop with a local business you can trust. Carolina Jewelry Pawn and Gun, serving you for over 25 years. 443-1668, 2552 Sunset Avenue, Rocky Mount.